Welcome back to the channel, as today we continue my final prospect rankings for the 2023 NFL Draft, and we take a look at the offensive interior. Remember, in this video, I'm only going over my top 10, but if you want to see my full prospect rankings, my full big board, check out the Patreon. Link is in the description. You'll find a nice Google spreadsheet there that has my full evals. It's got pro day, combine numbers, as well as important analytics depending on the position. Good way to support the channel. But what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that nice, beautiful football discourse. Let's go ahead, get into this sucker with number 10, Ricky Stromberg, out of Arkansas, coming in at 6'3", 306 pounds. He was a four-star recruit from the 2019 class. He became a starter in the second game of the season, of his freshman season, there at right guard, and kind of never looked back since, man. There's a lot to like when it comes to Stromberg. Like, he's strong, he plays physical, he plays with that mentality of just bury the defenders. He climbs well to the second level, as well as his vertical sets are really nice. He jumps back and he's good at taking on and anticipating what is going to be coming at him. He has the frame that can play guard, not just center. He's played center, I think, last 2 or 3 years, but he also played right guard. That's kind of where he got his initial start there at Arkansas in his freshman season. Allowed no sacks, only 11 pressures this past season. I will say, this is kind of a nitpick on my part, but kind of for me, regardless of the position, I loved seeing guys that drive through contact, that just keep their feet moving upon contact, and Stromberg really isn't one of those guys. On top of that, against more power rushers, I said he's strong, he's physical, but I think he's got a weak, maybe a weaker core, as he kind of waist bends, went up against some of those guys. On top of that, penalties have been a huge issue for Stromberg. 23 over his career, 5 this season, 8 in 2021. So definitely something you might need to be concerned with. I know some people are going to look at the comp, and especially if you're a Cowboys fan, and be like, Tyler Biadasz, super mid. But I actually really like Tyler Biadasz when he was coming out of Wisconsin. So I kind of take it more akin to what he was as a prospect, what I anticipated him to be. So yeah, Stromberg ended up being a good fan of. Like I said, this offensive line class in general, there's some really good guys at the top, and there's kind of this big drop off while you see a guy at Ricky Stromberg, number 10. He's here at 144 on my big board. But let's go ahead, get to the next cat on this list in Chandler Zavala out of NC State. Has been wonderful for the Wolfpack, but wasn't always a Wolfpack guy. He actually came from Fairmont State, played 4 seasons there. Started at left guard. I think he's actually been a left guard his whole career. He's got a ton of experience, a lot of snaps under his belt, but he used the extra year from Rona to return for the 2022 season. And this cat has actually, I think he started quite a bit all over the place on the offensive line. Let me just get Zavala in there, but I know left tackle's where he's taken a bulk of his reps. Here, pulling it up here. Yeah, no, it's actually where he's taking all of his reps. He only had one rep at guard, but he's at right guard, excuse me, so on the other side. But I think he's got the body type to be able to kick inside if you need him to play center and whatnot. He's got strong, quick hands. He strikes and steers guys fairly well, especially in the run game. He shows nimble reach on or nimble feet on reach blocks. He understands blocking angles, and he understands how to really aggressively take on his man, and doing it with little work possible. You're gonna hardly see this guy get pushed back in the run game. Big fan of that. That's why I kind of gave him the Wyatt Davis comp. I was actually a huge fan of Wyatt Davis. Now we're going back to prospects I liked in the past that maybe haven't ideally worked in the NFL. Wyatt Davis, I was actually a huge fan of when he was coming out of Ohio State. And you could just tell with Zavala, the testing's insane. You look at all those green numbers, and those are high percentile numbers. That's why they're green. But yeah, man, I do love Zavala. Some of the things he does struggle at, he struggles at mirroring defenders. Sometimes he's slow to reset his hands when he needs to. And there are times where he's just kind of lost at the second level. So that's kind of why I put gap, power blocking scheme. Most likely going to just keep him at guard. You don't want to necessarily have to move him to center. But yeah, man, this cat's coming from NC State where he ran a lot of gap, a lot of inside zone. So not a guy you probably want in an outside zone blocking scheme. Got him at 120 on the big board. On to number 8, I got Olusegun Olujobi out of Michigan. He actually spent like what? Few years at Virginia. Actually, it's kind of wild because he was 2-star recruit coming out of 2017 class, and he rolled in the Air Force, didn't see any action, decided to transfer to Virginia, sat out 2018 because of transfer rules, but immediately became the starting center for Virginia. Decided to, hey, let me go to one of these stronger Power 5 programs and really show that, hey, I'm a legit prospect. And he did just that at Michigan, man. He looked really good. 6'3", 309 pounds. A dude that keeps his legs driving through contact. I love it. I love the guys that keep the legs a-churning. Great run blocker. He rattles off combination blocks effortlessly, and that was kind of on display there at Michigan. He has that mentality of where, hey, I'm going to bury these guys, so the NFL is going to love that. Along with some of his weaknesses, I kind of was surprised that I was like, oh, wow, those hands are really small. And then when you look at it, he would have, once he's in the NFL, technically he will have the second smallest hands of any offensive lineman in the league. That's freaking nuts. He isn't really comfortable moving laterally, so another guy that'll probably be more of this gap inside zone blocking scheme. There are times we kind of talked about it with Stromberg in vertical sets. You kind of want to step back and kind of like wait and anticipate what the defenders are going to do. And on his vertical sets, he strikes too much and he just kind of compromises his positioning in vertical sets. So probably not ideal there, depending on what you do with your pass and attack. But I'm a big fan. I think Olujobi is a very solid prospect. I thought Ben Jones was a really good comp. I really did. So I know the tight ends need a center. So holla, get you some Olujobi. On to number 7, we have Andrew Voorhees, one of my guys in this class, one of my favorite prospects. Probably would have had the day do grade on him if he didn't tear the ACL at the combine, unfortunately. So he's likely going to miss his rookie season. Already an older prospect, so it kind of breaks my heart. But I think maybe a 4th round grade is probably more accurate to when people might be willing to take him. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, since he's my guy, I would probably take a shot at him in the 3rd rounds. Depending on where we are, maybe like pick 80, pick 90. But as you can see, an older prospect. He's been there at USC for the last 6 seasons. Decided to return. Could have been a day 2 prospect in the 2022 class. Instead, he decided to return. And I think a part of that was like he felt USC was on the up and up, and he's been there such a long time. He wanted to be around to see this team truly be winners, and I'm glad by that. It warms my heart since I just love him so much as a prospect. Ton of experience. This guy's played left tackle. He's played on the right side. He's played left guard. Over 3,500 snaps of experience. You love to see it. He's played a variety of different in different schemes, different blocking schemes. So a guy that really is scheme versatile in that regard. Strong base, stupid powerful, as you can see. 38 on the bench press, and he did that with the torn ACL. He tore his ACL during position drills and came back the next day. It was like, yeah, I'll get surgery on it, but let's go ahead, knock out this bench press. I'm not going to lie. Healthy leg, because leg is important when it comes to bench press. I don't know why people don't think that, because you drive through your legs. I mean, that's kind of your anchor there. So I don't know, but I imagine that he probably could have maybe routed off 5 more, and we're maybe looking at 42, 43 on the bench. I will say, despite strong base being strong at the point of attack, strong anchor, he concedes a lot of ground initially in pass protection. This is something I mentioned prior to the season as well. As you'll notice, it's like, oh my gosh, he kind of like gives up like 2 to 3 yards of ground, but he quickly resets his anchor, he resets his hands, and he's able to like anchor down, and good luck, you're not stopping him. There are times where can be a bit wide and a bit late with his hands, which could be alarming for a guy with that much experience, but I mean, there's a ton to like about him. I love how wary he is of his surroundings, even of other assignments along the offensive line, where like there were multiple cases back in 2021 where guys would luckily 2022 the offensive line was much better, but in 2021 where guys would not necessarily miss, but they would lose their assignments, and Voorhees would see this and be able to make up for it, even if it's just putting a hand out there to kind of stop a guy from getting into his quarterback. Like, I like that awareness, that spatial awareness. It kind of slips off in the run game when he gets to the second level, kind of knowing where people are at. He kind of like, he's got his head on a swivel, but I feel like he just can't locate those guys at the second level. I got Robert Hunt, which, I mean, it kind of makes sense for me. 6'6", 310, but being a big Dolphins fan, literally the biggest Dolphins fan. I'm huge. But being a big Dolphins fan, I was a big fan of Robert Hunt coming out of Louisiana, so I think that's a good correlation there. On to number 6, and this is where we take a significant jump up on the big board. I have Cody Mauch. He's here at 75 on my big board out of North Dakota State. I'm not listening with the tackles. I think he profiles and he projects as a guard and center. The problem is I don't necessarily think he's probably a guy that should start day one, but I think in year 2, you could get a very good player for your offensive line, especially if you're like, I think more so he's like an outside zone blocking scheme type of guy, just because he's a former tight end. He spent 6 years there at North Dakota State, was a walk-on, former tight end, moved to the offensive line. He just moves so freaking well. He plays low, just consistently getting good leverage. He has that NFL mentality of, I want to barrel a guy. There are cases of him just like, he can be a bit lungy sometimes, but man, like he wants to get after it. He's like, if I'm going to take out a guy, I'm going to take out a guy. So I think the NFL is going to really like that. I mean, a lot of people were huge fans of him at the Senior Bowl. Despite the Senior Bowl, I thought was a good showcase of why he's more of a developmental guy. As we already knew, he lacks the ideal length to play tackle. He's probably going to have to move to guard or center, and his anchor is a bit light at 302. Like there were times he was just bullied at the Senior Bowl. Like there was a lot of good, but there was also some bad there at the Senior Bowl. It was a bit up and down with that. He's right now a total work in pass protection, especially with North Dakota State, mainly a very run-heavy team, but man, you just love the quicks. A guy that's quick out of his stance. He knows how to sink his hips, consistently gets good leverage, has a ton of experience. So it's like, in the run game, like he's already going to be a plus. It's just about getting that pass protection together and just not being such a waist bender and just getting stronger overall. You look at the test numbers. They come out really good for him. So yeah, Cody Mauch. I got Justin Pugh as a comp for him. I think he could develop into just a very quality player that's going to be around the league for quite a long time. Number 5, Luke Whippler out of Ohio State. That's right, 6'3", 303. He's one of the younger prospects in this class because that's the thing you're going to keep. You probably have already seen. Like, you look at Cody Mauch, Voorhees, Olusegun Zavala. They're all like 24, or at least 24 by the time of the start of their rookie year. Whippler's actually going to be one of the younger guys here at 22. He's 63 on my big board, and I think he's just going to be an exceptionally solid center in the NFL. So I gave him the David Andrews comp. I mean, not a lot of people talk about like David Andrews as like a top 10 or even top 5 center in the league, but like he kind of is, man. He is just consistency. And when it comes to Whippler, he's got strong, quick hands. I love how he uses his hands, places them well. He's just got naturally good leverage at 6'3", on the, not necessarily on the short side. It's about average, but like he's good at sinking low and just gets leverage, knows how to work leverage, quick feet, moves well laterally. The thing is, when you look at Ohio State's run scheme, they don't really ask for a lot of blocking at the second level, so you're kind of just anticipating with how good of an athlete he is that he can get to the second level quickly and be a good blocker there. He is a bit of an undersized build when you look at the arm length. The frame's not that big. He's got actually one of the smaller wingspans in this draft. He kind of lacks ideal power. He's not nearly as quick and nimble as he is. He's not really quick out of his stance, and the anchor has been a bit inconsistent, man. He will lose to power sometimes, but like for the most part, man, he's just exceptionally solid. Not an exciting prospect, but like just good. Just good. I think this is what a lot of people were assuming or hoping Jared Patterson would be, but Jared Patterson isn't this good of an athlete. But I would say Whippler and Patterson are pretty comparable to their like strength profiles. You're gonna look and be like, "Boy, you put up 29 on the bench press." Well, I wish I had T-Rex arms too. You gotta look at that arm length, man. It makes a big difference. Big difference. Number 4, I got Joe Tippmann out of Wisconsin, 6'6", 313. That's right, a 6'6" center. Kind of is what it is, man. Dude's big, but boy, he's good. Coming in here, again, one of the other younger prospects in this class. He is 22, or at least 22 at the beginning of his rookie year. Got him 58 on the big board. I've seen guys like Daniel Jeremiah and Dane Brugler exceptionally high on this guy, higher than I am, where I've seen him inside like the top 30, inside the top 30, 35. So I feel like I'm probably a little down on him, though, which is kind of wild, but kind of is what it is. He moves like a tight end, man. He legitimately moves so well, linearly and laterally. Quick feet. He also has very strong hands. Just good power, delivers good blows. I think just given his size, he's got that positional versatility to play guard. I'm not going to lie to you, I think he could probably play tackle. It's just you look at the lane, sub 33-inch arms. That's kind of like, that sucks. It's not ideal, but I think he could do it. I'm just going to put that out there. I think he's capable of doing it. And I will say some of the negatives when it comes to Tippmann is he's still a work in progress in terms of his hand usage. He'll throw his hands out a bit too wide, just too easy to bat those suckers down. He does need his recognition or football IQ. So many people have so many different terms for it, but I would say his recognition in pass pro, whether it's a stud or a delayed blitz, just picking those up or being able to tell when those are coming or being able to pick those up before it becomes detrimental. He needs to get better at that. He has the tall man problem at 6'6", no kidding. He's going to struggle with consistently getting leverage, but I think he's flexible enough to be able to get that leverage. It's just a matter of doing that consistently. He is a cat that does start out the season, typically starts out the season kind of cold. Like we go back to this past season or even 2021, where this cat's just like, you see holding calls and it's just kind of ridiculous. Like 4 penalties within the first 3 games, then 2 for the rest of the season. For this past year, we could jump to 2021 where he had 3 penalties on the whole season, but 2 of them came in all in one game. And I get it. Matchups matter as well. Like who were those against? What were the matchups? I mean, one was Illinois. I know they got Newton. He's kind of help it. He's just kind of a wrecker. He had one pressure, or he had 2 against Washington State. It's not like they really got much of anybody, but yeah, just something to note, man. If you're watching Tippmann, he is a cat that typically starts the year slow. His better tape comes around like week 5, week 6. So if you are watching and be like, I don't get why people like him, it's like you're watching the beginning of the season. You need to really dive into his tape. I gave him Ethan Posick as a comp because Posick, when he was during that time in Seattle, man, it was like this dude's a really good athlete. Like, we were just kind of waiting for him to have that breakout year, and he never did in Seattle. But when he made the move to Cleveland, suddenly it's like, wow, finally he is meeting his potential. So that's kind of where I see, not that I'm saying I see an ideal projection, but I'm saying that I think he has that type of upside like Posick did. Just hopefully he's going to hit it a lot sooner. All right, Gojo, I'll catch you later, buddy. Gojo doesn't want to talk about offensive interior because he's Chiefs fan. He knows they're already got that wrapped up. So let's move to number 3, John Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota. He's 24, 6-year senior. Yes, indeed. And man, oh man, he is just the personification of consistency. This dude's just exceptionally solid. That's why I gave him the John Sullivan. Like, Sullivan had some really good years in Minnesota. Wasn't a long career for Sullivan, but I think John Michael Schmitz, a guy that can be exceptionally solid, even though he is kind of an average athlete. Like, yeah, none of his numbers are in the red, which is good. If they're in the red, then you are below average. But like I'm saying, like, this is what I'm saying. He's just a very average athlete for the position, but he's very fundamentally sound. The play is always consistent. Very good hand placement. I love how he uses his hands. He's a versatile frame, even though he's never played guard there in Minnesota, none that I can remember. He's got the frame and the ability, I think, to be able to be a guard in the NFL. Ideally, you'd probably just keep him at center, so it is what it is. But this dude does play with that NFL nasty. Again, you hear that term a lot, but I mean, it's kind of true. The NFL loves guys that just want to go out there and bury people. He's feisty, but sometimes to his own detriment. He can be a bit overtly aggressive coming out of his stance, and it allows him to whiff occasionally, and more so in pass protection. I think that's more of a scarce thing. So maybe a cat you want more in maybe a play action scheme where you kind of have to feint the attacking of the run game. So just a thought out there. Is one of the older prospects in this interior class, but like I said, there's a ton of them. There really is. And then on to number 2, I got Steve Avila out of TCU. He had a phenomenal season there for TCU. 6'4", 332. Surprisingly small hands. Not as small as Olusegun Olujobi. There we go. I want to say Olufashanyu, but that's next year's class. We ain't worried about that yet. But yeah, surprisingly small hands for a big boy. This dude is literally, he's got imposing size, imposing power, stupid good anchor. Like, you're not going to beat this guy with power. And like he's so quick out of his stance for one of the bigger guys in this class. It's very impressive. And strong grip strength, like, good luck breaking free. Like, he's a dude that can literally bend guys backwards. And I know how that sounds. And I mean it exactly the way it sounds. It's kind of ridiculous. This is a dude that has experience guard, has experience at center. I think he could do both at the NFL. However, I will say, like, while he got better at a few things, like, I thought he got better at working leverage. because he can be a bit tall, but I thought this year that was something he improved greatly. I thought the awareness was a bit better, the overall recognition of what's going on around him. However, I think he needs to take better angles. When Gojo Ari wants back in. Gojo, I'm gonna finish Avila and then I'll let you in. All right, bud. But I think he could take better angles as a blocker. Too often he's just kind of giving up. You give up leverage, you give up position. I'm kind of being redundant here, but you give up good position and it allows guys to beat you. Especially another kind of knock I got on him, he could be a bit heavy-footed in pass protection, and when you're heavy-footed and you don't necessarily take the best angle, especially like right out of your stance, then yeah, you're putting yourself in you're compromising your quarterback at that point. You're putting yourself in a compromising position to get beat. While it wasn't really an issue this past season, it's something I could see maybe being an issue early in his NFL career. I love the comp of Ben Grubbs. I was a huge Ben Grubbs guy for the few years in Baltimore where he was just like really, really good. That I think he went to the Saints and had like one solid year and then was kind of out of the league after that. But I like that. I can definitely see like a team. I really should have put like more of a gap to power blocking scheme type of guy, and that's kind of where I want him to go, especially with Ben Grubbs comp. I think it just makes all the sense in the world. All right, last guy on the list. Y'all probably already knew this. It's Osiris Torrance out of Florida, 6'5", 331, will be 23 by the start of his rookie year. He is 28 on my big board, the only guy inside the first round. For me, I got him as a starting guard and a starting guard only. And if you're not familiar with him, he had 3 years at Louisiana, Raging Cajuns, baby, where he just dominated. Moved over with Billy Napier when he took the Florida job. Moved over to Florida, so huge step up in competition. And then proceeded to dominate again. 8 pressures, no sacks. Gotta love it. Wasn't even flagged this year. Just love to see it. He's a large specimen at 6'5", 331. He's very sturdy. He shows very good balance. You're never going to get this guy off balance. He just moves men against their will, man. He imposes his will. I love that. Strong grip. Impossible to really disengage from him, but from a guy this size, you probably would like to see more blows, more strikes, because you anticipate him to be really strong. And it just seems like he's too content and just kind of latch it on, and like especially sometimes in the run game, if they want you to kind of like get upfield, which I don't really think he even has a skill set to do that. He's more of a phone booth type of blocker, but like if you want him to get to the second level, you kind of want to deploy those strikes then, but I don't really think that's going to be the case for him anyway. Does have a bit of heavy feet, and doesn't have, I guess this kind of ties into the lack of strikes. Doesn't have that bury them mentality. He's more so just content in manning up his guy and making sure that they do nothing on the play. He's more of an just erases one player from the play than absolutely annihilating guys. Doesn't have great range. That shouldn't be a surprise at freaking 6'5", 331. That's down from I think 240 or 340, excuse me. He was playing there at Florida, but I will say maybe might be a concern. I think it's probably a big nothing burger, but like if you go back to his junior year in high school, he was 420 pounds and really did a good job of cutting down on that weight. Obviously, I mean he's 90 pounds down from where he was his junior year. But not saying weight is a concern, but maybe something you just want to keep an eye on, knowing that he used to be that weight in the past. I gave him the Wyatt Teller comp. Wyatt Teller, once he made that move to the Browns, man, the Browns just do stuff for people, right? Ethan Posick, and now we're talking about Wyatt Teller. He became a top 10 guard in the NFL. I think Torrance has that potential. I'm a huge fan of him. He is number 1 on my offensive interior rankings. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. That's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. As always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.